Hi, I'm Presly Pedigo. I'm your 2023 USA National Miss Rocky Top, and this is my interview with the pageant dude.
Hello, everyone. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project, or as Presley rightly pointed out, that pageant dude, whilst I still don't have my socials. But my special guest is Presly Pedigo, who is USA National Miss Rocky Top 2023. Pres, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I just saw your necklace. That
Yes,
is
it's my name.
well, spelt the right way?
Yes, my mom got it for me for Christmas. I think she got it made somewhere, but no, I wear it
Oh,
every day.
okay.
It's like my staple. Yeah.
That's cool. Because I was going to say you would have
Yeah.
had difficulty, I imagine, finding it without the Ley at the end. So
Ye-
that's cool that
Yeah,
you've
that's
got that.
everywhere.
Now, I can see a bunch of you have tuned in already. So if you have any questions for Press, put them in the comments and I will pass them on to her. But I'll just read out her short bio here so you get an idea if you don't know who she is. So she's a 21-year-old from Nashville, Tennessee. She is currently a senior at the University of Tennessee, where she will graduate in May with honors in neuroscience and psychology. Her goal is to become a physician associate in women's health to provide a safe and empowering space for young women. In 2019, Presly was crowned Teen Universe USA, and her pageant journey has now led to being a state title holder for the USA National Miss System. She will compete at Nationals in July 2023, representing Tennessee as Miss Rocky Top. And then she's in brackets put Go Vols, which I'm going to have to ask her about because I have no idea
Yeah.
what that means.
You said
In
it
her
right.
free
I'm surprised.
Okay, cool.
Sorry.
I got one thing right. In her free time, she loves to do freelance makeup artistry and attend spin classes. And pageantry has allowed Presley to grow into a confident young woman who never gives up on her dreams. You can follow her, as you can see, under her name at Presly Pedigo. All right, so a couple of things that I need to ask you real quick before we get into any meaty stuff. First off, Miss Rocky Top. Is that the name of like a suburb, a county? What's the Rocky Top?
Yeah, so I go to the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and I know you're not from the US, but Tennessee is long. It's divided into three sections, so middle, west, and east.
Oh,
Rocky
okay.
Top is in East Tennessee. That's where my college is. And my university is kind of dubbed Rocky Top. That's our fight song. So it was very fitting, kind of an homage to my senior year to be Miss Rocky Top at my final year at the University of Tennessee. That's our fight song. I'm not going to sing it for you. I'm a horrible singer, but you can look it up and listen to it. It's by the Osborne brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you to sing it because I had
No.
I had Savannah Miles on, who was, I think, Teen Universe
Mhm.
probably the year after you, and I got her because she was actually a cheerleader, so I got
Okay.
her to do the She says she can't sing, and her mum agreed with her. Let's just put it that way. But I got her to do the fight song, and then obviously Go Vols, which you said that I pronounced correctly. But what are
Yeah.
Vols? Is it? I'm imagining it's got to be a team, right?
Yes. So the University of Tennessee, we're called the Volunteers. Tennessee
Okay.
actually nicknamed the Volunteer State. So Go Vols is just kind of shortened for Go Volunteers, our football team. Everyone
Okay.
says it Vols, but it's
Yeah.
Vols. So you said it right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just got lucky there. Probably
You
if I
did.
said it's, I probably 10 times I'd say it the other way half the time. Tennessee, what did you say it's known as? The volunteers state, is it?
Yes, the volunteer state. There was a war, and the Tennesseans all volunteered to help out on the battlefield, and that's what we're known for. We've been known for it since. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Okay, that's
volunteer
kind of
state.
a cool fun fact. I've interviewed two or
Oh,
three other girls from Tennessee. I never knew that.
mhm.
That goes well into pageantry.
Right.
And why don't we segue into that? So this is not your first title. Tell us how you got involved in the crazy world of pageantry.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this the other day. I really don't remember what drew me to pageantry. I was 15 when I started, but I begged my mom to do it. I begged her to do the county fair, and I was someone who was so shy, so quiet when I was younger and just very awkward. So my mom was just like, "No, you're not that's not for you. We're not doing that." But I kept pestering her and she finally gave in and I got bit by the pageant bug, as people would say. But yeah, I
Right.
think I looked up to the women who competed in pageantry because they were so confident and so sure of themselves, and it takes a lot of courage to
Yeah.
step up on a stage like that. And I was someone who was scared to walk to the front of the classroom and turn in a paper, because you would have to walk in front of everyone. So I think I wanted to be like the woman in pageantry, and that's kind of what drew me to it in the first place.
Well, I got to imagine that you're 21 now, so 6 years on, you have to have changed. I mean,
Yeah,
anyone from the age of 15 to 21 will change probably a lot. It's some of the most formative years of your life. You learn a lot, you make a lot of mistakes. But I got to imagine the shy young Presley at 15 who
yeah,
wasn't sure whether she could do it on the pageant stage. You've changed somewhat since then, right?
for sure. Yes, I'm actually 22 now. When I submitted the bio, I was 21, but my birthday was last week, so now I'm 22.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thanks.
What'd you get up to for your birthday?
Honestly, not much. I went home and just spent it with my family. I had some stressful week with classes here at college, so I wanted to go relax and see my dog and see my mom and the rest of my family, and it was good. We had Mexican food because that's my favorite. I ate it pretty much all weekend.
Can't go wrong with Mexican food. It's
Oh,
one of
for
those
sure.
foods that I don't think you can ever have bad versions of it.
Mhm,
It's just always baseline good. Um,
mhm.
Tell me a little bit more about Tennessee, though, because I think you're the third competitor I've interviewed from Tennessee. I've
Yeah,
interviewed Gracie Pfaff, who was competing at Miss Earth USA, and then Bailey Guy, who obviously was Miss Tennessee Teen.
yeah.
And Bailey famously, when I was interviewing her, she was telling the story of how she got involved, and her mum wouldn't let her get involved because she was asking Bailey, like, "What do you want to do, like hobby wise? What are you passionate about?" And Bailey was passionate about pageantry, and her mum goes, "No, something that you're good at." And so she told that story, and then
That's
her
funny.
mum got her into pageantry because she said she needed to get this kid some personality. Apparently, her mum didn't think Bailey had any
Oh my
personality.
goodness.
But, well, things have changed since then, right? But
Yes.
Tennessee, it seems like you guys are pretty, what, down to earth, laid back maybe, and pretty humble. Am I reading that right? Because you all seem to
Yeah.
have that in common.
I would say that, the South in the US generally is more hospitable and
Yeah.
kind and generous, and, I'm from Nashville originally, and it's been cool to watch that city grow and, evolve to what it is now. It's such a big hub for country music and
Mm,
everything in common with people, because a lot of people from Nashville now aren't from Nashville. It's very
yeah.
uncommon to see someone who's grown up there, born there, raised there, and the people that live there and have grown up there are very humble and very kind. And I notice that when I go to other states, I'm like, "Oh, you didn't hold the door."
Mm.
But mhm.
Do you address people as sir and ma'am, or is that a bit too formal?
No, I do, especially
Cool.
elders. I've grown
Yeah.
up doing that. It's respectful. That's what we're taught down here. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a medical assistant at an urgent care, and I feel so old because younger people will come in and they'll call me ma'am, and I'm like, "Oof, I'm not grown," which I guess
I
I am.
remember the first time someone called me sir, and yeah, I had a
Mhm.
bit of an out of body experience. But just back up a sec, you're actually from Nashville, and you said you
Yes.
don't sing. So what happened
No.
there?
I don't know. I just didn't tap into that, I guess. Some of my family members sing, but and I used to sing at church when I was little. There's videos of me up on stage and just
Right.
I was singing different Christian songs, but yeah, that's just kind of I've just pushed that back, I guess.
We leave that in the past, do we? We
Yes.
don't bring that up. Do
Yeah.
you like country music? I mean, you're from the heart of country music.
Yeah. I do actually. I like more, modern poppy country
Yeah.
music, I guess. Like, I was just listening to Morgan Wallen, he released a new
Mhm.
album, and yeah, so I like that kind of country music. Old country music really isn't for me, but I still like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the modern version is quite different. It's got kind of like
Mhm.
country roots, but it's a little bit more upbeat and and catchy.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn Devil Went Down to Georgia because I play the violin and I want to learn the
Oh,
fiddle.
yeah.
Trying to learn the fiddle part to that. That's
It's a
interesting.
fun one.
Having trained in Yeah, but having trained in classical violin and then
Mm,
trying to play the fiddle, it's very very different.
yeah.
So you are competing in July.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've competed before. You're about 4 months out, just looking down at the calendar.
Yes.
So sounds like you got a busy life, and we'll dig into that. But how's the pageant prep going? How are you feeling?
It's going really good. I've made it a priority this year to stay consistent with everything. I'm someone sometimes I just like to push things off, especially if I'm nervous about it. But this year, because I competed with USA National Miss the past 2 years, and when I left nationals last year, I was like, nope, we're going full force, we're going back.
Hmm.
And I started prepping that same July 2022. So
Oof,
it's been
okay.
good. I've been trying to space everything out, and it's been great. Yeah.
Nice. What does pageant prep look like for you? I mean, you said you begun, but so you would have done it for a year, 12 months when you hit nationals again.
Yeah.
So obviously you are taking it seriously. What does that involve for you?
So I got a new modeling coach, so I've been traveling to Georgia to meet with her every month. I've been trying to be consistent
Hmm.
with that. Interview is something that I've always tried to work on. I'm going to start meeting with my interview coaches this month, actually, and just staying involved and being active and present on social media and really making the most of this title. I believe that when you have a pageant title, you really get what you put into it. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to do this year for sure.
So what sort of expectations do you have for yourself going into it this year? You've competed twice before, you said, and
Mhm,
obviously you've held a not insignificant title before. So
mhm.
how do you sort of keep a hold of your expectations in terms of, you know, that you probably could do very well, but how do you just balance that with, well, pageantry can be a bit subjective at the best of times?
Yes. I really just try to stay easy on myself. I definitely can be my own worst critic. So
Hmm.
just going into it with a relaxed state of mind and knowing that, there are plenty of amazing women competing in all age divisions. But everyone brings something different to the table. And that's really important to remember. So just keeping your mind right and your heart right and staying on the right direction for you and staying focused on what you want to go after is how I'm focusing this year. I've definitely tried to stay keeping my mind and body right. I've definitely made working out and doing spin classes and all these different things. Just staying active and keeping my mental right is how I've been this year for sure. That's how I'd tackle pageantry in general, I'd say.
Healthy body, healthy
Yeah.
mind, as I say. Spin is the one on cycles, right? On
Yes.
stationary bikes? Because I
Yes.
remember when I was visiting America one time. I was in Wisconsin, and it
Mhm.
was the middle of winter. It was a Midwest winter. Oh, it was terrible. Not the place, but the weather was terrible. And there was nothing to do outside, so I started taking spin classes.
Mhm.
You can push yourself pretty hard in
Yes.
those, right?
Yeah, and it's on a bike that goes nowhere. They always joke about that. Like every day I bike probably 15, 16 miles, but I'm literally
You don't
in
go
the
anywhere.
same spot. Yeah. But
Do you
it's great
actually
because
do you actually cycle a real bike at all?
no. No, I actually didn't learn how to ride an actual bike until I was 15.
Right,
It's like
okay.
a running joke. So, I love the bikes that don't go anywhere, but if you put me out, like, on the street, I'm just like, "Ooh, cars." Scared of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask, so in terms of getting the body right to help get the mindset right, obviously I think it's hugely important for anyone, male or female, whatever
Yeah.
age. But often going into pageantry can be pretty stressful. And then you have high expectations of yourself. You've done well in the past. Obviously you're at school. You're going to be graduating in honors in a very interesting field to me, because that's quite
Yeah.
close to my heart, which we'll get to. But, have you struggled mentally at all? I mean, you don't have to go into great detail, but, for a lot of young women, like, going into pageantry, especially competing in Tennessee, which is a
Mhm.
very competitive state for pageantry, sometimes you can get in your own way and get in your own head a little bit much. Have you ever struggled with that at all?
Yeah, for sure. Last year, actually, when I competed at UNM, I kind of bit off more than I could chew. I would say I was
Uh,
taking accelerated classes in the summer, anatomy,
oh,
physiology, and Spanish. So it was 2 semesters crammed into 8 weeks. And, being at UNM was a fourth of the class. And I would leave rehearsals and go back and take exams or study for an exam. And I ended up, I think it was almost 6 or 7 exams that week I had to take just being at a competition as well. So that was really hard, and I will say it was I I had fun, of course. UNM is
yeah, yeah.
amazing, but I wasn't in the best headspace, and I definitely really got on myself about that because those are two
Mhm.
very stressful things combined.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's important to give yourself grace for sure. And yeah, And that's what I'm changing that this year. I'm graduating, so I won't be taking any classes, but just making sure to focus and not, because I am a yes person for sure, and just
Okay.
making sure to not say yes to everything.
Everything. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel some people need to learn to say yes more often, and some people need to learn to say no more
Yeah.
often. You either fit in one or either bucket. Why did you cram 2 semesters into 8 weeks? I'm just interested in, like, are you that sort of person who's just all go all the time, or did you have some timeline that you were bearing in mind?
I do like to stay busy, but I wanna go to PA school like it says in my bio, so in my head, I was just like, "Oh, I could knock all these things out in 1 summer, and that will be great." At first, I was just taking Spanish, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm taking this, I might as well add another class on top of it," which they ended up being 2 very difficult classes
Yeah.
together, and yeah, so that's kind of what happened there, but it all worked out in the end, it worked out great, so, you know, we won't do it again, but we survived.
How traumatic was it? I only ask because my last semester of uni, and I say this because I failed a class in my second to last semester, and I'm very academic. So for me to do that,
Mhm.
it wasn't because the class was so difficult. It's because I'd gotten just so lazy and doing other things in college, college life. But I was like, I'm not spending an extra semester in college. So I crammed the last semester full. I actually had to get
Mhm.
permission from the dean or the chancellor to do like more units than were normally
Oh, wow.
allowed. So I had like, I think 35 contact hours per
Oh
week
my goodness.
where the art students would be complaining, oh my God, I'm so stressed. And they have 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I think I had about 7 or 8 exams spread over 2 weeks, but it was pretty
Mhm.
intense. So, what did you learn from cramming that much into one semester? Because I learned a lot, mainly not to do that again and actually, sort myself out. What did you learn from your experience?
I definitely learned how to budget my time better, staying
Mhm.
focused and being able, prepping for things a week in advance, days in advance, instead of, pushing it off and procrastinating. I had a lot of test anxiety, which I still kind of do, but having all of those crammed together in 2 weeks was kind of a blessing in disguise almost. It helped
Yeah.
me, just exposure therapy. Like, well, I know you don't like it and you're anxious about it, but you have all 7 tests coming up this week, so you better get over it, I guess. So that helped me in a way, and I've noticed that changed this year throughout my senior year, I would say, but yeah, and
Yeah.
also
When you
not to
have
do that again.
When you have that many tests, it's like you don't really have time to worry about them, do you? Because you just have to basically walk out or run out or fall out of one and
Mm,
limp your way to the next. So
yeah.
you don't really have time to get yourself worked up. But tell me more about what you study, because I'm one of those people who's always been fascinated by psychology, and I certainly haven't formally studied it, but I've read a bunch of books and I've read a lot of sort of deep thinkers, and neuroscience is an absolutely fascinating field to me, just in
Yeah.
terms of, I don't know if you studied neuroplasticity, but just seeing what the brain can actually do. And, like, oh, we want to explore space, so we want to explore the ocean. Those are great mysteries. But to me, what's in here is probably the most fascinating thing of all. So, what is your degree like? I mean, so you're going to be graduating May with honors in neuroscience and psychology. Those are just words. What is it like? What have you studied? What got you interested in that?
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a neuroscience and psychology major. The brain is just absolutely so powerful, like you said,
Mm.
and it's incredible being able to study it. I actually got to work in a neuroscience lab studying stress and resilience during my junior year, which was
Wow.
such a cool experience. Being able to learn really how our brain can bounce back from trauma and what
Mm.
helps us build, that resilience that comes out in many phases of our life. But I also love my psychology classes. I'm in child development currently. I took social psychology last semester, which was really cool. I had an experience the other day, which a friend of mine came up to me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you won't believe what just happened. I got stopped on the street and they asked me to donate $500 to this organization." And I said, "Oh, I'm not doing that, but I'll donate 10." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, like, I learned about that in my social psych class last semester." So, it's really cool to learn about things and actually being able to go outside and see people applying them without
Yeah.
even realizing. But yeah, I've always been interested in it. I loved psychology when I was in high school. I had a teacher who it was a fun class. She would just play Criminal Minds and we would, talk about the different disorders that were going on in the show. But I was like, oh wow, like psychology is very interesting. And now I'm here.
Yeah, there's a kind of a running gag with me having interviewed hundreds of pageant girls that you guys are
Yeah.
all seem to be fascinated in criminal activities, but apparently that's not a pageant girl thing. That's just a girl thing.
Yeah.
I want to back you up to the resilience. What you mentioned about
Yeah.
neuroscience and resilience. I'm fascinated with what you learned because to me, obviously, there's a lot of focus on mental health at the moment,
Hmm.
rightly, and with social media being the way it is, it can be really difficult for anyone, regardless of age or gender. But I've always thought awareness is great, spreading awareness, getting rid of the stigma. But the best thing you could do for your own mental health is to actually really build that resilience because
Yes.
at the end of the day, we're all going to get bullied. We're all going to deal with hate. You're never going to get to the point in a society where everyone treats you nicely and treats you exactly the way that you would want to. And I don't think that's really the aim of life anyway. But resilience, can you just tell me more about what you guys learned in terms of neuroscience and resilience? Because that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, so I worked in a lab which studied dominant and subordinate relationships in hamsters. So basically, we would put hamsters together and they would, and kind of fight each other almost. And we kind of studied, what made them give up, what made them keep fighting, differences
Mm,
in males and females. But yeah, it ended up being really cool. Different sections of your brain light up when basically how long you've been exposed to stress, if you grew up in conditions where you were alone, kind of relating back to like if you were an only child versus if you
yeah.
had a lot of siblings. So it was cool to see that change. And we're still working on a paper that's in the process of getting published, which is very exciting. And I
Wow.
loved my time in that lab. It was very interesting. And it taught me a lot about, because I want to go into medicine, it taught me
Mm.
a lot about everything that goes into understanding the human body and how it can be related to, other model organisms as well.
Did you learn anything in terms of just like a practical takeaway for yourself? I mean, you're studying these hamsters, but
Yeah.
obviously you're not studying them because you want to be a vet. You're studying them because you want to see what we can learn about us, our human brains. Were there any sort of practical takeaways that you took from that time in your lab and you went, oh, okay, so from that, I should learn to do this in this situation, or I should run towards that or run away from that? Were there any practical lessons you took?
Yeah, so resilience, like I said earlier, is our brain's ability to bounce back from trauma. And
Mm,
something I learned, throughout that time in the lab and with my degree as well, is our amygdala is in the center of our brain, and that's our fear center. So it's activated when we're stressed, when we're anxious, and it can be calmed down when we're engaging in activities like art. So I started an organization called Resilience Starts With Me, which implements resiliency coloring kits in schools and hospitals across the state of Tennessee. So when kids are feeling anxious, they're feeling stressed, and they don't know how to express these emotions and ask for help, they can go color. And it helps light up that amygdala and help them calm down. And they're full of positive affirmation coloring sheets. And
wow.
I've gotten feedback that they're successful. So, it's awesome being able to apply things that I've learned in my degree and help
Wow.
kids across my state.
That's amazing. See, because I
Yeah.
I was thinking you were doing something like that, but it
Yeah.
wasn't in your bio, which I have here, and I must have read it on your social somewhere. And I'm
Yeah.
going, hang on, was this Presley or was this someone else? But what's funny about what you just mentioned? Well, not funny, but a weird
Yeah.
coincidence. Because during the pandemic, obviously there were a lot of people stressed out of their mind, and one of I publish books is one of the things I do. One of the categories that really blew up in on Amazon during the pandemic was adult coloring books.
Yeah.
And I could never figure out why. And all my adult friends, all the pageant girls, they were getting adult coloring books, and they were coloring. And I'm not an artist. I never pretend to be an artist. And the last time I colored was probably back in grade school. But I was
Mhm.
just so. I don't look at it and go, "That's weird." I was looking at it maybe through the lens of same similar to you. So like, why is this happening? And
Mhm.
you've just given me the answer right there. So
Yeah.
we need to talk more the resilience because I'm so big on resilience. But what was it called? Resilience starts with me.
Yes, resilience starts with me. I wish I had some with me currently, but I don't. But they're clear packets. They have coloring sheets filled with positive affirmations, a little notebook, a little journal, and some coloring crayons. And yeah, they're in schools, they're in guidance counselors' offices, so kids can go there when they need that resource, but they're also in hospitals. I volunteer at East Tennessee Children's Hospital every week, so we have some in our child life department. And yeah.
Wow. Okay, so are you
Mhm.
just going around of your own accord and like are you contacting schools and saying, "Hey, can I come in and do a presentation? Can I do a talk? Can I talk to the principal?" How is that happening?
Yeah, pretty much just from word of mouth. I'm just getting
Mhm.
in touch with faculty and staff. And usually when I reach out to them, they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'd love some. Just kind of start off giving 20, 50, whatever I have on hand. So yeah, it's worked out great. I've gotten great
Yeah.
reviews from them and it's been cool to see. I love also adult coloring books myself. So it's a fun similarity there.
I might have to give them a go
Yeah,
myself
for sure.
sometime. Are you creating these packs yourself? I mean, you said 10, 20, 50, whatever you have on hand. Like, how are you getting the packs? Are you creating them? Are you buying them from somewhere else?
Yeah, I create them myself. I just order the supplies off Amazon. We're very blessed to have sponsors that help us get the funding to get these donations and get these
Oh, wow.
materials. But yeah, I just do it on the floor, plan it out. I'm like, oh, I'll make coloring kits today.
That sounds amazing. So,
Yeah.
if someone, let's say, is interested in what you're doing, what's the best way to maybe get involved or have a chat with yourself?
Yeah, definitely shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. I would love to send some your way and we'll just get talking about that. I can give you my email as well. I think it's on my Instagram if it's needed.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, DM works as well. We can see Presly
Yeah,
Pedigo. So DM or email.
yeah.
Um, so are you doing that? Is that your advocacy for the pageant as well? Because you said one of the things is always, everyone's amazing and you want to find everyone stands out in some way. Is this the way that you're standing out? It sounds absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so I do that, but also UNM's national platform is called Inspire, which basically promotes serving your community in whichever way you're passionate about, whether it be through kindness, compassion, or taking care of the earth. I
Hmm.
used to be a camp counselor for an organization through my school. So, because of that and my past experience, I created Camp Inspire. I grew up just with such a heart for service, and I created a day camp for kids, which helps give them those tools to be leaders in their community and go back and help teach them how you can give back. I believe that we live in such an individualistic society right now, and those
Mm,
values aren't instilled in our youth anymore. So I've hold a yearly Camp Inspire. And my next one is coming up this spring. My last first one was last year, and it's been awesome. It's been incredible. So that's what I'm doing as a state title holder to make an impact.
amazing, Brazil. How
Yeah.
how are you getting the word out about the camp? I mean, is it open to everyone or is it only open to specific schools? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's held in Middle Tennessee, just kind of through word of mouth, through social media as well. Um, but yeah, just last year, I believe we had 30 kids, which it was the first time we did it. So that
Yeah.
was plenty. Just finding kids in the area, it's free, so it's accessible for all. It's from kids ages 4 to 12. And yeah, I'm excited to have one in the spring as well. It's going to be in April. We're still trying to nail down a date, but we'll be posting as soon as we figure out the details.
How many do you think you could take maximum? I mean, I was a tennis coach and we had
Yeah.
tennis camps and nothing ages you quite as fast as trying to look after 100 kids hopped up on red sugar wielding tennis rackets. So how many how many can you take?
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I guess it depends on how many counselors we'll have this year. So maybe
Yeah.
maybe we'll grow a little bit. We'll go 50. But, if kids want to come and learn, I'm definitely not gonna turn them down, turn them away. So
Sure.
we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
It's a good problem to have, right?
Yes.
Having too many kids.
Yes, of course.
Um, so coming back to pageantry for a sec, what keeps you invested? What keeps you interested? So, I mean, it sounds to me, just off a cursory sort of conversation, you obviously have a lot going on.
Mhm.
And what I really like is that you are service, you have a heart of service, regardless of pageantry, it seems. I don't like it when someone does something just for the pageant.
Mhm.
I want it to be a part of who you really are, because
Yeah.
then you show who you really are at the pageant. What is it that keeps you coming back? Obviously, it's not like you have so much free time on your hands. Oh, I just guess I'll just do a pageant. And you've been taking it, let's say, super serious. So you've been prepping since the last one. What keeps you coming back? What's the most important or most sort of addictive part for yourself?
I love the friendships for sure. I've met some incredible women through pageants, some friends that I still talk to every day. And when I competed internationally, I still have friends from other countries that I talk to. And yeah, just being around so many incredible like-minded women is
Mm,
something that keeps me coming back for sure. I love being on stage. It's just such an adrenaline rush and it's so much fun. And it's taken me a while to get to that point where I'm not scared to go into an interview room or scared to go on stage for
mm,
fun fashion or gown or whatever it may be. But yeah, it's just everyone has their thing that they love. And, when people learn that I do pageants, sometimes they kind of give me a look, but I'm just like, hey, it's any other sport. Everybody has their passion, their little thing that they do. And, it's something that I love. I went through a period where I was really hard on myself. I was in a
mm.
very toxic relationship and I was competing throughout that time. So, when you're hard on yourself, the people around you are hard on you, and then you're subjecting yourself to being judged. That is just
Yeah.
not a good combo. And, it kind of made me lose my luster for pageantry a little bit. And my first time at USA National Miss, I was so nervous, but I went into the week and it was just such and a good vibes all around. It's funny to say, but everyone was there with such intention and it was just so positive and uplifting and it really reignited my spark for pageantry and I think that's something that's kept me coming back for sure.
Have you given any thought to how you want your pageant journey to play out over the years? I mean, some people they do one pageant, they're done, one and done. Some people can't stop coming back 10, 20 years or 10 and 20 pageants. Have you given any thought at all to how you want to see this journey of yours playing out?
Oh my goodness. I definitely want to try for Miss Tennessee in a couple years. That's always been a goal of mine to compete in the USA system as a Miss. So I'm just building up that confidence and preparing for that. You know, People can do it and just try it. But for me, I'm someone who likes to, put my all in. I'm not going to just go in and just see how it goes. But yeah, I definitely want to try that in the future eventually. And that will probably be my ending, I guess, whenever that happens. Who knows though? I'll probably get bit by the pageant bug again, and who knows? I'll be 50 and still doing pageants.
Well, perhaps. I mean,
Yeah,
you've studied the brain. I'd love to see what part of the brain the pageant bug sort of resides in. I'm sure it's in
right.
like some sort of addiction center there, and there's a pageant bug.
Dopamine, serotonin, probably.
Well, I mean, it really is, isn't it? I mean, you
Yeah.
guys, because for most normal people, the idea of getting on stage, whether it's in a gown or a swimsuit, is absolutely like the last thing they would ever want to do. And then most
Mhm.
of you guys, not all, but most of you guys, that's where you feel most alive,
Right.
is like on that stage, whether it's modeling or photo shoots, whatever it is, that's your chance to really strut your stuff. And you guys live for that 20, 30 seconds. Interview can be a bit hit and miss. I think a lot of people I've interviewed with, their number one fear is interviews. Like, oh my God,
Mhm.
what do I say? I've always got interviews. That's easy. Just be yourself, talk. But
Yeah.
on stage, they're like they come alive. Is that the case for yourself? You become a different person on stage?
Yeah, I would say so, kinda like your alter ego, your Beyoncé personality. I guess it kind of relates to dancers and people in
Yeah.
sports, theater, they seem
Gymnastics,
different. Yeah,
dance.
exactly. Yeah, you're performing, you're putting on a show, and it's just so much build up for something, like,
Yeah.
it definitely is in the brain somewhere. Serotonin, dopamine, those like you said, those addiction kind of
Yeah, those
receptors, but
pathways. Yeah.
yeah, no. But yeah, I love it. It's just such a rush. It's so much fun. I used to black out when I would get on stage. I'd be like, "Oh my god, what happened?" Like I fell on my face for sure and didn't know. But yeah, I've definitely gotten past that. But it's still a lot of fun.
It doesn't sound like a lot of fun if you're
No, no,
blacking
no.
out.
No, it would just be like it's just so much energy and so much
Yeah,
excitement. You get up there and it's just like
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't it's a bizarre. I don't know how to explain it.
I know what you mean, not because I've done that myself, but I have a good friend of mine who competed on the Miss Universe stage representing Ireland,
Mhm,
and that was televised everywhere. And I clipped out a clip of her performing. It was her national costume, and she was dressed as a fairy. It was
mhm,
amazing. And then she goes, "Oh, can you send that to me?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, don't you have video clips of it? Because I'm thinking, like, if you performed on the biggest stage in pageantry, the
mhm.
first thing surely you want is clips of yourself so you can remember it. She goes, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any clips and I can't remember any of it." I was like, "What do you mean you can't remember of it?" All she could remember was running to the stage
Yeah,
because they were all in national costume. Everyone's wearing like wings and stuff.
yeah.
And she had to run. And then obviously, when you get on stage, you can't be running. You have to look like you're all poised and relaxed and elegant.
Mhm.
But she couldn't remember any of it. And that's the biggest stage, in the universe. So
Mhm.
is that what you mean when you say you black out? Like you can't remember what you just did?
Yeah, I've definitely gotten past that, now I can remember, but definitely my
Okay.
first few years of pageantry, like, don't know if it was nerves or excitement, honestly, maybe, like, a fight or flight response that just totally made you black out, but, yeah, I would still get up there, I'd do the thing, and then I'd watch the video after and be like, "Oh, that was good." But so, yeah, definitely especially in interview, I used to really do it in interview, and I would come out, my mom would be like, "So what did they ask?" And I was just like, "I don't know." It would come to me later on throughout the day, like, an hour later, I'd be like, "Oh, they asked me about my hobbies," or I'd be like, "Oh, they asked me about"
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That'd be, fascinating to study your
Yeah,
brain when you're
yeah,
going in, seeing what's actually happening. Maybe there's a certain part that's firing or some part that's shutting down. Um,
probably.
but I'm glad to hear that it's not quite as traumatic anymore. Tell me more about the UNM system. So USA National Miss. So you're
Yeah,
competing in a few months. What are the different parts? Are there any optionals? Obviously, there's so many different pageants and they're all structured differently. You
yeah,
already give us an idea as to Inspire, the platform, so
mhm.
what it stands for. The actual competition, what are the parts you're going to be competing in?
There's interview, gown, and fun fashion, so a runway aspect as well, which is more upbeat and fun. They have a ton of optionals, or casual wear. I believe there's talent. Um, I'm drawing a blank. There's just so many. It's one of those pageants that gives you so many opportunities to get on stage and do all the things. And yeah, it's fun. There's also a fitness competition for an optional. Yeah, all the good
Are
stuff.
you are you going to be doing any of the optionals?
I'm doing casual wear. There's a community service optional as well. Some photo shoots. Carlos Velez is one of our sponsors. I'm sure you've seen his work, but he's
Oh yeah.
awesome. Yeah, we're lucky for him to be able to come and do photo shoots for all of our contestants and also do an optional photo shoot. So that's exciting. I'm doing that as well. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
That's I don't know Carlos, but as I said, I
Mhm,
published a couple of books and a couple in the pageant world, and my books are filled with his photos. And you can always tell when it's because I always say like it's big to me to give the photographers credit if you're going to use their photos and you have to get permission. But I can always tell when it's one of Carlos's photos. There's something
mhm.
about the lighting and the drama of a
Yeah.
Carlos photo. It's not just someone who got an iPhone and went smile and you went click. There's something about the setup that just makes it look that little bit extra. So I was going to ask you, have you ever competed in the talent section?
No, like I said earlier, can't sing. I'm very uncoordinated. I cannot dance. I guess I could do a monologue if I really had to, but no. Never done talent. That's what people always ask when they learn to do pageants. They're like, "So what's your talent?"
Right.
I'm like, I don't have any." So
Yeah, it's just sounding like eerily reminiscent of Bailey. Bailey said she can't sing, she can't dance, so she ended up doing ventriloquism. And then she
yeah.
did this thing when she was on the interview with me because she had a puppet in the whole thing and recited the 50 states of America in alphabetical order. It was hilarious. And she actually
Yes.
did the whole ventriloquism thing.
Mhm.
So, if you can't dance, how do you find opening number? Do you always want to be put up the
Horrible.
back? You don't want
I,
to be one
like
of those people. There's always a dancer. They're
no.
like, put me up front. And there's always someone who's at. I give you the back. No cameras, no nothing.
Yes, I love it when they send out the video. I mean, I will like if it's a last year we had probably a 15-second dance. I practiced that 15-second dance for I could not tell you how long. And I was finally like, I got it. I can do it. Just like the
Yeah.
hand motions. But one of my first pageants, I did NAM State. I was like 15. I walk into rehearsal and they're like, "We're learning a dance." I about had a panic attack. I was like, this is not for me. Like, this is crazy. Again, it was fine, but, yeah, the dancing, I definitely have 2 left feet, and I'm trying to get better with that, especially with working out and,
Yeah.
with spin classes, I don't know if you ever did them at yours, like, all the choreography, like, the hand
Yeah.
bends and,
Yeah.
like, swaying and all that stuff. I've gotten better at that, so I've also
Okay.
started, Legree workouts, it's kind of like on a Pilates reformer. It's very interesting, and definitely my uncoordinated is coming out in those classes these past few weeks, but yeah.
I mean, that will help with your fitness, but are we talking about see, with dancing with me, I find it embarrassing to dance because I'm over 6 foot tall and you sort of kind of stand out and
Mm.
everyone's eyes on you. So I'm terrible at dancing, but it's also the remembering the choreography, right? Because for me, like I can remember a speech, I remember certain things really well, but trying to remember a choreography, because when I was in Texas last July, I was sitting in on when they were learning the dance, like the very first time the choreographer came out and showed them the dance. And I still remember it was to Pitbull and Mark Anthony, the Let It Rain Over Me. And there was all these hand gestures and you had to stomp this and click this. And there were a couple of dancers sitting next to me and they're like, oh yeah, I got this. It's so easy. And I'm like,
Right.
is that an issue for you? Because when I look at it, go, you might as well be speaking Greek. Like I don't
Yeah.
know what you're doing. And for these dancers, it was, oh yeah, that's easy. But for you, is it like what's going on? Like left, right, click, hand? Is that the issue?
Yeah, for sure. I did Tennessee Teen USA, I was in high school and I did it, and I guess the first day we had a rehearsal and I guess I looked sporty, I looked fun, and they divided everyone up into groups, and I
Yeah.
got picked into be group 1. Turns out group 1 was the dancers and the cheerleaders, and I guess I looked like I fit in. So, we're up there and we're being taught this combo and I just couldn't get it. I I was like that. I was like, "What is happening? Move my arm what way?" And the choreographer, the producer, he was like, "Nope, you're in group 2." And I got in group
Oh
2
no.
and whatever happened, I couldn't get what was going on in group 2. So he's like, "Nope, you're going to group 3." And then finally made it down I think to group 5. I was the only person that moved groups like that. So I definitely had to laugh at myself in that moment.
Uh,
But also when I competed at Teen Universe, I had to do a national dance and I learned a jazz solo. M Bless this choreographer's heart who worked with me, her name is Shauna, she's from Nashville, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Um, she taught me this solo probably from October up until March when I went and competed. It's
oh
somewhere out
yeah.
on the internet, don't go find it because I it was a lot, but it was fun, I got to wear a cute little costume, and that was definitely out of the whole competition, that is what I was most nervous about, the national dance, this little jazz number I was doing to Candyman by I think it's by Christina Aguilera,
Yeah.
but I had
Yeah.
like a little, like red, white, and blue sailor bugle boy-esque type
Yeah.
costume on, and it was so fun, but the dancing aspect of it was terrifying.
Have you ever watched your performance back?
I think I watched it once and I was like, "Yep, just gonna put that in the back of the memory." Because
Wow.
I was prepared for, she's a normal competition dance instructor, so she was training
Yeah.
me across this whole studio, like, "You're gonna do this transition and move to this side," and so I was prepared for this huge stage, like, lights on me, like, I was ready to be sparkling, and so I get there, and it's, like, this tiny little rickety stage. All respect to them, but I think
Yeah.
it was just, like, maybe, like, "Oh, it's national dance. Everyone's gonna be doing, like, a salsa, like, spinning a
Yeah.
skirt," 'cause there were a lot of Latin countries competing that year,
Yeah.
but no, I'm out here with my jazz shoes on, ready to go, and nowhere to do my little leap that I had planned, so I ended up, I think, forgetting a few steps or something, but it was still fun and still different and a great experience to put myself out of my comfort zone, I guess.
That's one way of putting it. That sounds like
Yeah.
something I would definitely black out from my memory on
Yeah.
purpose, just to take it out of my brain and put it somewhere else. But I mean, look, dancing is one thing, but like you
Yeah.
said, the stuff that you're working on, that sounds more like on the reformer and the spin. That's more
Yeah.
like getting fit. And I don't know, you've said being coordinated is a bit of an ongoing issue with
Yeah.
you, but it's separate to dance, right? I mean, are you like when you say uncoordinated? I've spoken to many people who say they're clumsy, and I don't believe them. And then I find out that you look at them and like a massive bruise on their leg or on their
Yeah.
arm. Half the time they don't realize it was even there. I'm like, how can you not? Like your whole leg is black. And then the other time, like, how did that happen? Oh yeah, I just walked into a cabinet or I fell down the stairs. I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? Are you okay?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, I do that all the time." I'm like, "That sounds rather inconvenient." So are we talking like uncoordinated, like the clumsy? Like, do you bump into things
Just
or hit?
all of the above, honestly. I trip over my own
Okay.
feet, I'll bump into walls, into, like, my kitchen counter, it's like a granite. It's up, like, at my hip level, so every time I hit it, I feel
Ouch.
like I got shot and I have, like, bruises. But yeah, and also, like, with spin and with the reformer, that does take coordination too. Like, we were
Yeah.
doing something this morning where you had to, like, put a strap on your heel of your foot and lift it up and move your foot
Oh, yeah,
out,
yeah.
and I
Yep.
for my brain was just like, "How do I move my foot like that?" Like, I physically could not get those, like, connections to go, like, to push my foot upwards with this strap on it. I don't know, but it's just one of those things that takes practice, and I will probably still trip over my own feet when I'm walking to class, but it's just part of
Yeah,
it. My middle
you
name's not
can't
Grace.
you can't be that bad if you're walking in a gown on a pageant stage in heels. I mean, that takes a certain coordination, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My coach, we were laughing last time I was with her. She was teaching me an exercise that, girls in, like, Venezuela and Colombia do before they go on stage, like,
Mhm.
they sway their hips and sway their arms, like,
I've seen that
they're
one.
yes, just, like, opposite. Then I was going
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. It took me probably 20 minutes sitting there with her trying to do it. I was moving, like, the same arm with the same foot and the hip, and she was like, "I don't know how you're doing that." Like, when you walk, like, "Do you do that?" I was like, "I guess. I don't know." But
Have you sometimes I feel it helps not to think about those things because otherwise
yeah.
when you start walking really weird and you're like, "Hang on, I actually don't." Anyway, have you ever tried that exercise where and you don't need to do this now, but like you tap your head and then you rub your belly?
I think now I
So it's
wanna
a
do it. Now I wanna
coordination thing. So you
try.
have to tap your head, but you have to rub your belly, and then you have to reverse it, like
Yeah,
rub your head
yeah.
and tap your belly. If you can do
Oh,
that, you've got
yeah,
all the
that
coordination that you
no,
need.
I can't. I'm, like,
Okay.
sitting here, like, rubbing my head and my stomach at the same time. So no.
Yeah. I some people either rub both or they just start hitting both, and it's like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
tap your head, and so I reckon if you don't need to do all the Pilates and spin classes, just practice that, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Um, but I got to ask, you sound like you've got a full plate, you've got
Mhm.
a lot going on. So what do you do? Like, do you have any free time to just unwind? And if you do, what do you do to unwind? Or coloring books, I guess we talked about, but hobbies, anything that's not go, go, go all the time?
Yeah, I just like to when I have free time, I just like to chill and relax. I have a dog back home. She's a little Yorkie poo named Sachi, and I love to spend time with her and my friends that are here in Knoxville. We love to go to, like, sporting events and stuff. Just yeah, just relaxing and spending time with those that I love, and I love, hair and makeup artistry as well. So
Mhm.
when my schedule is a little bit more relaxed, I like to say yes to people who want their hair and makeup done for special events, but that is fun to me as well, so I like to do that.
Do you spend any amount of time on Amazon buying things that you shouldn't to try out
Oh,
as a makeup artist and
all the
hair and
time. Yes, all the
yeah,
things.
I can only imagine. Well, just before we get to the final 10, we've been on
Yeah,
almost an hour already. Gee,
yeah.
lost track of time. Before we go to the final 10, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to for supporting you?
Yeah, I believe my mom and grandma are watching, and I wanna say hello to them. They're my biggest supporters. My mom is my best friend. My grandma is just an incredible woman. I've always looked up to her. She is the CEO of her own company, and she is just an absolute boss woman. So, having those 2 incredible women in my life to look up to as I've grown up is awesome, and hello. if you're watching.
All right. Final 10, just random questions.
Yeah,
Number 1, what is your favorite word?
my favorite word. I would say slay, you know, just slay because you're killing it.
And just as you mentioned that, I just realized what's behind you. It says Louis. Is that Louis Vuitton behind you?
Yes, it's not real. I got it off of Amazon.
I mean, just
I
talking
thought
about
it's cute
sleigh.
though. Yeah,
It
slay.
is. It is really, really, it's really cute. Number 2, what is your least favorite word?
Buttermilk. If the people watching, if they know me, they'll laugh at that. But I hate the syllables in it. And there is a road, an exit on the way to my college town, which is called Buttermilk Road, and it just makes me cringe every time that I drive by it.
What do you what about actual buttermilk? Do you not like buttermilk or you just don't like
It's
saying it?
fine. Yeah, it's fine. I just don't like the word. Like I think just like the pronunciation of it. I don't know. It's like the word moist. How people hate the word moist. That's
Yeah.
just the word I hate.
What about the words butter and milk separately? They are okay?
That's fine. Yeah. I don't know.
But the best pancakes are buttermilk pancakes.
I
I
know.
don't
Yeah.
know how you
Just
can ask
normal
for them.
pancakes to me.
Okay. Number that's a new one. Number
Yeah.
3. In life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
I would say my family. They are just my biggest supporters, like I said earlier, and my best friends. I've been able to grow up with such an awesome group. We're all close together and we all just lift each other up and inspire each other to do better, I'd say.
That's huge. So
Yeah.
that's what turns you on. Number 4, what turns you off?
I would say people who are negative, trying to stay positive on a positive outlook on life is good. So if you're just negative and not feeling the vibes, I'd say no.
Number 5, what sound or noise do you love?
I would say like a fan. I have to fall asleep to a fan every night. I have one next to me, if you can see it. It's like a big tall fan. It's like a white noise thing. I saw in your email before this, it was like you can't have a fan going, you can't have stuff in the background. I was like, oof.
Well, I shouldn't say that because I have the air conditioning on at the moment,
Oh
but only
well.
as I said because it's 100 degrees over here.
Right.
So I wasn't going to stand here in a jacket and just start sweating buckets.
Good.
Number 6, what sound or noise do you hate?
I would say like nails on a chalkboard type stuff. Like if you just rub something the wrong way and it's like, mm-mm,
Yeah,
don't like that.
got that. Cutlery on china sort of thing.
Yep.
Number 7, if you could have a superpower, what would you pick and why?
I would say probably the power to avoid traffic. My college town has a lot of traffic, so if I could just like fly up and pass it all, that would be nice. So I could get to where I was going.
With flying,
Yeah,
basically.
flying.
Because I was gonna say, if you just wanted to avoid traffic, then just don't drive, but that doesn't sound like a very exciting
Yeah.
superpower, it's not very practical. Flying we can get, so you can just
Flying, yeah.
fly to your class. Okay.
Mhm.
Question 8. What job would you most like to attempt?
So, like I said earlier, I wanna be a PA, so that's my dream job, or maybe being a makeup artist full time. If I could do both, I feel like that would be fun. I don't know
You
how, but
literally just said be a makeup artist full time, which would imply that you can't do the other job because you have a full time. You're doing it again. You have 2
we could
full-time
do
jobs.
both. Why not?
Sure, sure. I think that the superpower you should wish for is to duplicate yourself. So there can be
Yeah,
more than one of
just
you,
have
or you can be in 2
unlimited
places at one
time.
time.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Time
Yeah,
time travel, time control. Number
yeah.
9, what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Oh my goodness. That's a tough one. I would not like probably something earlier, like with coordination, like being a dancer or something. I don't think I'd be able to do that. It'd probably give me a lot of anxiety.
Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Probably that you've done a good job and you've been a good servant. I grew up a Christian, so, being able to make it there and just being able to know that you've lived a fulfilling life would be good to hear, I guess.
Nice. Now, I actually had two notes under here that this is
Yeah.
my bad. I just realized that, yes, I wrote resilience starts with me that I wanted to ask you about, and we've talked a little bit about that. But
Mhm.
just before we hang up, it says STEM field. I always like to stress that beauty and brains are not mutually exclusive. And I can tell
Yeah.
from, given the area that you study, it,
Mhm.
it's a it's an area that needs a not insignificant amount of intelligence. But then you said there's still a bit of stigma when it comes to pageantry, and then
Yeah.
you're going to do a pageant, but then
Mhm.
beauty and brain. So talk to me a little bit about that because you are in the STEM field. You're a young
Yeah.
woman. You're obviously a pretty young woman, and you're in pageantry. Yet you're also in the STEM field. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, there's a misconception that beauty and brains can't coexist together. You can't pursue a career in medicine, you can't pursue a career in science and also be pretty. Like those just don't go
Hmm.
together. That's what many people believe. But, as I've grown up, being in college especially, I've done what I can to disprove that. I worked in a lab, like I said earlier, and it took me a while to get that position because I felt like I would get an interview and I'd go and I'd meet with these professors and I'd walk in with like a pink blazer, with makeup on, and they're just like, no. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I finally found somewhere that believed in me and people that were great to work with. And just being able to, inspire other young girls out there that you
Yeah.
can go after your dreams and you can do what you want to do at Camp Inspire. When we talked about the environment and how we can take care of the planet, we did a STEM activity. So I taught the kids about oil pollution and we made lava lamps and kind of had a visual about that and what that looks like in our ocean. So just being able to incorporate that in our daily lives and be strong in who you are and chase after your dreams no matter what you look like. And my
Hmm.
grandma, I mentioned her earlier, she's someone who's always taught me to not take no as an answer, to keep going and to never give up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Important life lesson there.
Yeah.
And hopefully that sort of attitude towards young women is changing as well.
Yeah.
Um, hopefully over time.
Hmm.
And just finally, you also wrote this. I used to be an introvert, and pageants have truly helped me grow and come out of my shell. How introverted are we talking about? Because sometimes I talk to you guys, you say, "Oh yeah, I used to be an introvert, or I still am an introvert." And I'm talking to you, I'm like, I can't see that. But how introverted are we talking about?
So I guess it still kind of comes out when I like to recharge. I like to be by
Yeah,
myself and be in the
yeah.
quiet and, be to me. But definitely growing up, like I said earlier, I was scared to go up in front of class and turn a paper in because that meant I would be walking in front of my classmates, which everyone would be doing their work and not paying attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so nerve-wracking for me. And I ended my senior year as class president. I was being able
Oh wow.
to, yeah, just growing in confidence is something that pageantry has instilled in me. And I truly believe that I wouldn't be pursuing a career to empower women and I wouldn't be at a university with 30,000 kids if I didn't start pageantry when I was 15. And, if you want to do something, I always tell people to go for it. You can't grow unless you're uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
yeah, so definitely used to be pretty shy, pretty introverted, but, you know, we're getting better.
30,000 kids.
Yes, it's crazy.
I've interviewed some people whose town doesn't have 30,000 people. You're at a
Yeah.
college, a university that has 30,000 kids.
Mm.
What's the environment there like with so many kids? It's got to be pretty buzzing.
Yeah, the Starbucks line is always so long. You have to, like, allot yourself an hour to go to Starbucks if you want a coffee. But, yeah, just so many people crammed into this one area. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything, being involved in campus and meeting so many different people. I'm from Nashville, but actually a smaller town outside of Nashville, like
Right.
20 minutes from downtown, but, next door there's a cow patch. So, being able to come to a big
The cow
university
patch.
and yes, uh, and just meet so many different people from different walks of life and people who are going after different careers and different goals has been
Mm.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, sounds like a
but
melting pot because you said a
yes.
lot of the people in Tennessee and Nashville these days aren't actually weren't born in Nashville. They're not Nashville natives.
Mhm.
So it would sound like it'd be really interesting to have that many young people around who want to change the world and achieve something all get together. I always think that's a genesis of greatness. Is you get a bunch of people who want to make something happen. Just put them in
Yeah,
a room together and just watch the fireworks happen. I think that's
right.
amazing.
Mhm.
Final question, I promise.
Yeah,
How do you take your coffee?
definitely very sweet. I like it iced. I always do an iced vanilla latte with almond milk and cinnamon powder. That's my favorite from Starbucks. Tried to make it at home. I can't. It doesn't taste the same. So Starbucks gift cards are always appreciated.
Get in that little
Yeah.
cheeky plug at
To
the
all my
end.
friends watching, you know what to get me. But
Well, you
but
just
yeah,
had your birthday, so
I know.
it's
I'm
too late
stocked
to
up
be
for a
asking that
while.
now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, Presley, it's been a pleasure getting to chat to
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And best of luck at the pageant. I'm sure you're going to do amazing. I'll
Thank you.
keep you on the line for just a sec whilst I hang out with the
Yeah.
audience. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to
Yeah.
you next time.
Bye.
Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.